When Centerpoint was constructed, it was Highway 10. The traffic volume was expected to be significant, and we made it as big as it needed to be during that time. The changes that we've seen, now Highway 10 goes around the downtown area, so the traffic is significantly reduced. We have signals at Church and Centerpoint, and I know myself and I know a lot of other people that have sat at a red light with absolutely no one coming. So what we're looking at doing is making some changes there. The change that we're talking about is removing the intersection, or removing the traffic signals at that intersection and putting up a stop sign on Church Street, allowing traffic on Centerpoint to flow. If nobody's coming on Church Street, then you can turn into traffic. Talk a little bit about that and what we did to determine whether or not that was warranted.
Sure. And this is another project where it's just not as simple as turning signals off. There was a lot of data that needed to be collected, a lot of traffic counts, and there's signal warrants that we have to go through to de-energize a signal. There's 8 warrants, basically protocols that have to be met in order to take a signal down. And we've been working on this since the first of the year. Mm-hmm. And we've submitted all of our data to DOT, and we've just heard back that they have given us the blessing to take those signals down. Centerpoint is still connecting highways, still State Highway 66. Mm-hmm. So DOT had a fair amount of say in if we could do this or not. So now that DOT has blessed this, we go through a 90-day protocol where the signals will go into a flash mode, and then after 30 days, we basically shut the signals off, and then we monitor the intersection for another 60 days. But even before we can do any of that, there's a fair amount of work that has to be done. We still need our approvals at the council level, and then we need to send out letters letting folks know what's going to be happening, particularly to the high-rise manor.
Right.
And then we have to put in some signage to let folks know that this intersection is under study. Even the stop signs that we have to put up at Church have to let folks know traffic from the right does not stop. So there's a lot of outreach that has to be done mm-hmm. before we can even put those signals into flash, because it is a change at an intersection. And then we'll go through that process. We'll monitor the intersection, and that's where PD is going to get involved mm-hmm. to make sure that we have folks that are behaving.
Right.
And then after that's done, we have to look at how folks are going to cross that intersection from a pedestrian standpoint.
Right. And I've actually got some questions and feedback on that already. I mean, as you know, high-rises across the street, there are some elderly and some disabled people that live there, and I see them crossing. We want to make sure that they're able to cross safely, which leads me to believe that we probably are going to need one of those pedestrian-activated lights. And so I know that's in the plan to install as well, to ensure the safety of those pedestrians that really need to cross when they need to cross.
And that was part of our initial study, as part of those warrants, is we have to look at the pedestrian traffic. And then we also had to look at the signal at Main and the signal at 2nd, mm-hmm. and we had to study they're called platoon gaps.
Okay.
The platoons being that group of cars that get the green, that are going westbound. What's the time in between those gaps?
Right.
And then we had to look at the pedestrians and how long is it going to take them to get across Centerpoint. And so all that had to be taken into account to make sure that folks are still going to be able to cross safely with that signal not being there. And we've met all that, and I think it's a perfect spot for some more RRFBs so folks can get across.